Dear friends, thank you very much for organizing this particularly important session and for giving me this opportunity. Now, a quick self intro. My name is Vincent Xavier Palathingal. I have my bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Calicut University in Kerala. I came to US in 1992 to do my master's in civil engineering at University of Nevada, Reno. I came with my wife and we had a kid in the first year of life in the US. Just like many of you listening today, we fell in love with this country and decided to stay back. We became permanent residents in 1997 and eventually US citizens in 2003. I would like to take this opportunity to explain the context for me walking away from being a Democrat voter to a passionate Republican Party operative at the state level. I believe that my conservative upbringing in schools in Kerala obviously contributed to my values and worldview. Plus, growing up in Kerala, the first major province in the world where communists came to power through elections, I have seen how centrally planned socialist economies failed the common man by limiting opportunities and promoting big government dependencies. I was never a fan of the distribution of wealth philosophy, even in my rebellious teen years, even when I am from a very middle class family. However, I did not have any exposure to the alternatives until I came to US. As a student in India, I was instrumental in organizing students against communists who dominated the campus through violent and terror tactics. I also witnessed how minority and religious appeasement and pandering policies of various socialist parties in India was a disaster for the majority and minorities alike. Upon arrival in the US as a master's student, I was excited to experience the free market capitalist economy, where rule of law and the protection of property rights are foundations for freedom, justice, and security. I was incredibly happy with my new country and immensely proud to become a citizen in 2003. I was always a conservative and I was ready to vote for a party based on my values. However, I hated every aspect of the Iraq war as I was certain Saddam Hussein did not contribute to 9/11 and even more certain that he had no weapons of mass destruction. I was convinced that Colin Powell was doing the dirty job for the Bush and Cheney when he went to UN lying and pleading the case for a second war with Iraq. With that mindset in 2004, I was not able to even think of voting for Bush. I did not know enough about the parties at the time. My vote in 2004 was an anti-Bush vote and an anti-unnecessary war vote. Though I loved this country very much, I had noticed race-related strife that erupts in our cities occasionally. Plus, I always had a soft corner for African Americans as a race and was seriously concerned about the situation in inner city neighborhoods. That is something I really wanted to get better. I always remembered our African American brothers and sisters with a deep sense of gratitude. Their forefathers were a massive part of building this nation, much bigger than they were ever given credit for. We, the immigrants today, are extraordinarily successful in this country, but we were able to do this. We were able to build our successes here because the parents and grandparents of African Americans made our paths and kept it all ready for us when we came. They toiled on this soil, they shed blood, they gave lives, they suffered big time, but they endured. And they opened up the gates for all of us to come and enjoy the fruits of their suffering. I always felt outright irresponsible and ungrateful to enjoy our American dream when some children and grandchildren of those prepared the way for us made our path straight are still suffering prejudices and injustices. When a good number of them are still trapped in the vicious cycle of dependency created and maintained by unscrupulous politicians who just care about their votes and being in power. So when it came to 2008, here comes the messiah of hope and change, Mr. Obama. I supported him wholeheartedly, hoping that he will help to bring the debate back to the underlying issues that needs to be addressed. I opened my home for his volunteers and personally knocked on hundreds of doors on his behalf. However, he chose to contribute to the liberal charade of racial pandering and appeasement that can never solve a thing. Plus, I noticed that his policies of distribution of wealth and red tape, the business environment with ridiculous regulations, was the same communist socialist principles in Kerala and India that I ran away from. I also noticed the indoctrination that was happening in our public schools. That is when I started learning more about the political parties and underlying philosophies. When you understand the root cause of the issue, you know then what happens to a pragmatic person with common sense. That is exactly the same thing that happened to me as well. I became a Republican. I fell in love with the concept of God-given liberties and personal responsibility being the major planks for a political party. Those were the same values that my parents raised me with. What I did not have before was the knowledge that a political party can have such simple concepts that are so dear to common people as a political platform. I have been an active member of Fairfax County Republican Party since then and currently serve as the Vice Chair for Community Relations. I ran for Fairfax County School Board last November as a Republican endorsed candidate. Though we were not able to win in the blue wave of 2019 in this deep dark blue district, I was phenomenally successful in running a spirited campaign that brought record Republican voter turnout. I ran on issues and was successful in bringing the issues that mattered to the forefront. Later, I won a seat on the Republican Party of Virginia State Central Committee from the 8th Congressional District in Virginia. I won the election with an overwhelming majority in an electorate of delegates which was almost all white and against 3 white opponents. I just want to mention that to my fellow Indian Americans who may have an impression that Republican Party is racist and against minorities. No, we are not. I have been an ardent Trump supporter since early 2016. I campaigned for him tirelessly because I strongly believe that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for America to correct the mistakes committed by many past administrations. As a proud founder of multiple small businesses, I have personally experienced the damage the Obama administration has done by unleashing a flood of new regulations on businesses. I clearly understood the need for getting government out of the way for ordinary people and their businesses so that they can continue creating jobs and keep our economy working for all Americans. I have converted many minds in the process as well. Being the straight shooter the President Trump is, I had no doubt that Trump will tilt the American interest in favor of India against terrorists harboring Pakistan and against the totalitarian communists in China. And that's exactly what he did in 3 years, as you all have witnessed. Now, just few words about us, the immigrants. Before I get into the subject matter that is assigned to me, whether we know it or not, we conduct our personal lives in a very conservative manner. We raise our children in a very conservative way. We push them to work hard and we demand excellence in everything they do. We manage our personal finances quite conservatively and we run our businesses conservatively and we subscribe to capitalism and we love profits. All too often, our religious beliefs are also conservative as well. So, Our socially and fiscally conservative lifestyle is what it makes us, the Indian Americans, the most successful, the highest income earning ethnic minority in this country. How is it that in every facet of our life, we subscribe to conservative values, but when it comes to voting in elections, we vote for candidates who are diametrically opposed to what we believe in? If this is not an irony, then you tell me how 85% of Indian Americans can vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. There is an element of hypocrisy and virtue signaling there for sure. However, the biggest factor is that for many of us, we do not know any Republicans firsthand, and we tend to believe the media narrative about the Republicans and brand them all as racist and anti-immigrant. Most immigrants, including Indian Americans, as a population that was systematically trained to think of white people as oppressors due to European colonial rule that we all had to endure. With that context, when media portrays Republicans as the white people's party, we immediately fall for it without doing much of an analysis or reasoning. That is exactly why it becomes even more important for us to have programs like this, where we can learn together and become smarter about our political beliefs and actions. Now, let us get into the thick of some technical talk about Democrat socialists and conservative Republicans to understand why they do what they do and why Indian Americans vote the way they vote. Liberalism is used differently in different countries. One of the greatest contrasts is between the definition of that word in the United States and in Europe. In Europe, liberalism usually means classical liberalism, which is a commitment to limited government, laissez-faire economics, and unalienable personal liberties. This philosophy in the American context is called libertarianism. In America, liberalism means the exact opposite of this, and the political name of that is called democratic socialism. It believes in collectivism, the same as communism, than individual rights and personal responsibilities as the foundation of a society. It believes that heavy governmental involvement is the way to run a society. The political manifestation of that belief system is called the Democratic Party.